know less about the ocean than we say maybe about the moon or other planets of the solar system. So these drones that we have that can actually, scan and map the ocean and go down to different depths, these could have some very good applications in that area. Welcome to my office. DCMUs is our center for decarbonizing chemical manufacturing using sustainable electrification. And it's a consortium of several universities that are involved. NYU is the lead institution. They're looking at technologies that can avoid traditional processing. So traditional processing of chemicals, you take, for example, fossil fuels and use like thermochemical processing. You put this into a reactor and then you put it into a distillation column to separate your products. Looking at grid-rich renewable energy and using that to drive these electrochemical processes to get the products that we're interested in. So that could either be electrochemical reactors, microwave reactors, or plasma reactors. And then using newer ways of separating these products that we want in a higher purity form, such as membranes or using membrane separation units. We have projects involved with underwater solar cell development. So we've been working on developing solar cells that can actually operate underwater, and we've been looking at what types of materials can actually absorb light. So as light attenuates as you go down the different depths, we want to make sure that we have the right material that can actually absorb, and it turns out that silicon is not the best material, which silicon works really well for land-based solar cells, but for underwater solar cells you need a wider band gap material. I think this application has a good opportunity because these can operate underwater. They don't take up space, critical space for land. We know less about the ocean than we say maybe about the moon or other planets of the solar system. So these drones that we have that can actually, scan and map the ocean and go down to different depths, these could have some very good applications in that area. As we've developed a technology of harvesting light energy, which could be for either transmission or for underwater applications for submersibles or even for boats and technology. And I think this has a tremendous opportunity for marine applications and things. And if you think about it in terms of for boats, how much real estate is actually just right below the surface that could actually harvest light. It came about from a way that we developed this technique of using a tape stripping technique where we're taking electron acceptor from the solar cell. And when you strip that away, it makes these solar cells very, very robust. And this is a little bit unheard of for organic solar cells because usually they're susceptible to oxygen and also moisture and air. And we've shown that when we can strip off that electron acceptor from the top layer, these become very, very robust and they can actually operate. So we started looking at what's the durability of these solar cells. And so we started looking at exposing them to oxygen for a long period of time, having them outside. Then we started putting them in water. Then we started doing underwater bending tests. And then it occurred to us that, we could maybe start developing these for new applications, which is an area that people haven't necessarily thought of. So we saw this as a new opportunity to go into a new direction. It's not an easy problem, but there are some definite challenges in terms of corrosion. How do you actually harvest light at the given depths and how that comes together? We just published a paper in Nature Photonics, and we're looking at showing that this is a new field. It's rich with a lot of opportunity for material scientists to start looking at new materials that can actually function for underwater applications that can be tethered with a lot of things we're doing in terms of water and energy harvesting, like, for example, offshore windmills. One application is for unmanned submersible vehicles that can go and map the ocean. They can go down, map the ocean, come back up, and then charge or even stay at a given depth and then still keep going on the mission. I would say our finding is looking at a new application for a given technology and looking for new ways that this technology can be used. A lot of times for submersible or for underwater drones, they have to be tethered, so they have to be attached. So if they're tethered, then they can have power, they can be controlled. But now, since they have their own energy conversion source, then they can actually go out. They can, go back up, transmit their data, charge back up, and then go back down and go on the mission and keep going. So I think that's a really unique opportunity there. The current state of the art is reverse osmosis, and this uses membranes to desalinate water. And the challenge of that is it's very energy intensive. And so what we're looking for are newer ways where we can use less energy to do more of the work for desalination. And so this technology using the redox flow battery system is we can take renewable energy that's generated from either solar or windmill generation, and use that to desalinate water using ion selective membranes. The way this process works is we can actually take renewable energy. The renewable energy uses a redox mediator, and the redox mediator actually absorbs electrons on one electrode and deposits electrons on the other. And we have these ion selective membranes. And so as ocean water goes in, the sodium can diffuse on one side, the chloride can diffuse on the other side. So you're taking ocean water, you're splitting it to where you have a desalinated stream and a concentrated stream. My research group, we do fuel cell work. So you can think of fuel cells, and if you're familiar with batteries, so a fuel cell is an energy conversion device. So as long as you're supplying a fuel, you have electrochemical reaction, and then you generate electricity. A battery is an energy storage device. So battery, you have a fixed amount, you have a capacity. Well, the newer technology now that the people are looking at are redox flow batteries. And redox flow batteries means it's sort of a combination between a fuel cell and a battery where you're using electrochemical process to store. And in this case, you can actually store your electrons or your ions in a fluid medium and then run it in reverse. And so people are looking at this for long-term energy storage. So this came about from looking at ways and saying, okay, not only can we store electrons and store ions, but we can also use this to put in work in terms of an electrochemical process. So it could be electrochemical reaction, or in this case, we're desalinating water.